This study is really novel because it is the first time that heavy-sides and dusky dolphins have had their abundances estimated off Namibia. Not only are these the first estimates of their local population sizes, these are estimates from Namibia's only marine protected area, which is called the Namibian Islands Marine Protected Area, and it covers approximately 1/4 of the entire Namibian coastline. This marine protected area was established in 2009, only 3 years before we started the surveys to count these dolphins. So our abundance estimates for heavy-sides and dusky dolphins reflect their true population sizes from when within the marine protected area, from essentially the baseline period of when the MPA was created. And these estimates can be compared to new estimates in the future to assess the health of both dolphin populations. Also, what we've done here can be used as a model for these two species for the rest of the Benguela current ecosystem.
Heavy-sides dolphins are slightly smaller than dusky dolphins, and they have clear white markings up the flank and a very distinctively triangular dorsal fin. They also occur in much smaller groups in the field and have a clear rolling motion. Dusky dolphins, on the other hand, tend to occur in much larger groups than heavy-sides, usually in groups of 20 and up to hundreds of animals, and they tend to have a much flatter motion to their movement. They skim along the surface almost. They also have a very clearly curved or falcate dorsal fin. Dusky dolphins occur only in the southern hemisphere, although there's very similar species in the northern hemisphere, and they occur around the continents of South America, western southern Africa, and around New Zealand. Each of those is its own subspecies. Heavy-sides dolphins are endemic to the Benguela ecosystem, which occurs along the southwestern coast of Africa. So they only occur between Cape Town, essentially in the south, and just into southern Angola at the northern limit of their range. So where we studied them in Namibia, it was almost smack in the middle of their range.
An abundance estimate is a method of using statistics to estimate the number of individuals in a population. It's also called population size. When you estimate the abundance of a specific population, like heavy-sides and dusky dolphins in our case, it provides you with the number of animals that are most likely living in and using a specific area. We can compare the numbers of these animals over time to make sure that they are maintaining a healthy population.
So in general, passive acoustic monitoring involves putting a microphone or a hydrophone into the environment and recording the sounds. We're particularly interested in the sounds that dolphins make, and we're using passive acoustic monitoring to detect different dolphin species and also understand things like ranging patterns and abundance of dolphins. We're working with the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources in Namibia, and we've been conducting line transect surveys. And effectively what this means is we've been going out on a ship, we've been looking for whales and dolphins, but at the same time we've also been recording them. So we've been basically towing a long microphone under the water and then detecting a range of different species as we're moving along the habitat. So dolphins use sound for a range of different functions. They use sound to find food, they use sound to communicate with each other. What we're particularly interested in is the sounds that they're using for something called echolocation. And effectively that's seeing the world using sound. So when dolphins are echolocating, they make a pulse of sound. They make a very loud sound, and these sounds are made in trains, so they're repeated over time. And what the dolphin is actually doing is it's processing the echo that's coming back from objects in the environment. So those objects in the context of feeding are things like fish. So basically this is how the animals are finding their food. But most specifically we're interested in the clicks that they make for echolocation. So the good thing for us as scientists is that the dolphins are using pulses of sound with slightly different characteristics. And because of that, when we make recordings, we can actually tell different species apart. This is a spectrogram, which is basically a visual representation of sound. What we've got along the bottom here is time, and at the side here on the y-axis we've got frequency. What we have here is a train of clicks produced by heavy-sides dolphins. So where it's the brightest, that's where you've got most energy. And as you can see here, a lot of the energy is around 125 kilohertz. So this is where the sound is the loudest. And there's virtually no energy no sound below 100 kilohertz. As scientists, we call these echolocation clicks narrowband high frequency clicks. So heavy-sized dolphin is one species in the Cephalorhynchus genus which uses these click types. Harbour porpoises and other porpoises are also well known to use these types of echolocation clicks, as well as the dwarf and pygmy sperm whales. Dusky dolphins have echolocation clicks which are much more broadband, which means the click energy covers a range of different frequencies. What you can see here is that the lowest frequencies are around 20 kilohertz, and then the click goes all the way up to over 200 kilohertz. These clicks are quite different from the heavy-sized dolphins, and because of the properties of the echolocation clicks, we can tell the two species apart. In this recording, which is quite unusual, we had both heavy-sized dolphins and dusky dolphins recorded at the same time. So what you can see here is the narrow-band high-frequency echolocation clicks produced by heavy-sized dolphins with the energy around 125 kilohertz, as well as in the background, the quieter broadband clicks produced by dusky dolphins. Because of the species classifiers used in the software that we use, PAMGuard, we were able to tell these two species apart easily. So the benefits of using passive acoustic monitoring within the surveys is that we can conduct surveys overnight and in poor weather, and so that adds an extra opportunity to collect data. In our study, we found that occasionally our visual observers, so the people who were spotting the dolphins, actually did spot the dolphins further than we could acoustically detect them. And this is because the heavy-sized dolphins in particular are using these very high frequency sounds that don't travel very far in the environment. And sometimes on those very, very good weather days, actually our observers were able to see several kilometres into the distance. Using visual surveys is a lower cost method of conducting research. So both methods, visual surveys and acoustic surveys, have both advantages and disadvantages. And for this reason, combining the two different methods actually makes for a much more effective surveys.
People are asking, how many heavy-sides and dusky dolphins did you find in the Namibian Islands Marine Protected Area? And I calculated the abundances for each species as an average from the years 2012 to 2014, because these were the 3 years that we surveyed there on the boat. During those years, there was an average of nearly 1,600 heavy-sized dolphins and around 3,500 dusky dolphins that could be found within the Namibian Islands Marine Protected Area.
We're quite lucky here in Southern Africa in that our impacts on the ecosystem are substantially lower, although not nil, than they are in, say, North America or Europe, where there are a lot more people. Our dolphins are subjected to a wide range of human impacts here, particularly aquaculture, which is a growing industry, bycatch in commercial and artisanal fisheries, entanglement in fishing lines and ropes, harassment by tour boats and members of the public on normal boats, and of course noise pollution. And lastly, overfishing. The Benguela has been subject to massive overfishing over the last several decades, most notably the collapse in the sardine fisheries. Climate change has been identified as one of the sort of broader threats to heavy-sides and dusky dolphins because they live within an isolated body of cold water, the Benguela ecosystem. Changes within that mean that these dolphins have nowhere to go if that ecosystem collapses.